Hello, my name is Nicole Lewis. I am the Director of Quality and Compliance for Southside, and I will be going over COVID-19 vaccines with you today. To begin, let's review what we know about COVID-19. We know that infection with SARS-CoV-2, the virus that causes COVID-19, can result in a range of illnesses from mild symptoms to severe illnesses and death. About 30% of persons infected with SARS-CoV-2 do not have symptoms. We can't predict how severe any person's illness might be, but we have learned a lot this year, and we know that certain factors may increase your risk. Some people are more likely than others to become severely ill when infected, such as older adults or people with certain medical conditions like diabetes, obesity, cancer, or heart disease. We have also learned about actions we can all take to help prevent COVID-19. Wear a mask that covers your nose and mouth. Avoid close contact with others as much as possible. Avoid touching your face, your eyes, nose, and mouth with unwashed hands. Clean frequently touched surfaces regularly. Wash your hands often with soap and water for at least 20 seconds. And use an alcohol-based hand sanitizer with at least 60% alcohol if soap and water are not readily available. These are all tools in our toolbox, and the more tools we use to prevent the spread of the virus that causes COVID-19, the safer we will all be. Now we are adding more tools to our toolbox, COVID-19 vaccines. Multiple COVID-19 vaccines are in various phases of development in the United States and worldwide. The federal government is funding and coordinating development of multiple vaccine candidates. You can see the phases, which are standard to all vaccine clinical trials on this slide. The idea for a clinical trial often starts in the lab. After researchers test new treatments or procedures in the lab, the most promising treatments are moved into clinical trials. As new treatments move through a series of steps called phases, more information is gained about the treatment, its risks, and how effective it is. The first phase involves 20 to 100 health volunteers. Researchers like to try to answer the following questions. Is this vaccine safe? Are there any serious side effects? How does the vaccine dose relate to any side effects? And is the vaccine causing an immune response? The second phase involves several hundred volunteers. Researchers try to answer questions like, what are the most common short-term side effects and what's the body's immune response? Are there signs that the vaccine is protective? The third phase involves 1,000 or more volunteers. Researchers try to answer questions like, how does disease rates compare between people who get the vaccine and those who do not? And how well can the vaccine protect people from disease? It is important to note that safety data on these vaccines are collected in all three phases of clinical trials. The fourth phase happens after the vaccine is authorized or approved. In this phase, researchers continue to collect data on the vaccine's long-term benefits and side effects. 3 vaccines have received emergency use authorizations from the FDA, one produced by Pfizer and BioNTech, one produced by Moderna, and the other produced by Johnson & Johnson. These manufacturers reported that phase 3 trial results demonstrated that both the Pfizer and Moderna vaccines were approximately 95% effective at preventing COVID-19 disease, while the Johnson & Johnson is 66.3% effective in clinical trials. The first 2 vaccines are administered with a 2-dose schedule, separated by a few weeks, and the Johnson & Johnson is administered once. In the United States, these vaccines authorized using FDA's Emergency Use Authorization, or EUA. An EUA is a process that helps facilitate the availability and use of medicines and vaccines during public health emergencies, such as the current COVID-19 pandemic. The known and potential benefits of a COVID-19 vaccine must outweigh the known and potential risks of the vaccine for use in order to receive an EUA. I want to emphasize that the COVID-19 vaccines are being held at the same safety standards as all other vaccines. As you see, all the vaccines were tested in diverse adult populations, including minorities and older adults. Data from clinical trials show that that the vaccines are safe and effective at preventing COVID-19. It's important to note that both Moderna and Pfizer vaccines are a type of vaccine called mRNA vaccine. mRNA vaccines are a new technology that teaches our cells how to make a harmless piece of what is called the spike protein. The spike protein is found on the surface of SARS-CoV-2. After the protein piece is made, the cell breaks down the instructions, the mRNA, and gets rid of them. Next, the cell displays the protein piece on its surface. Our immune systems recognize that the protein doesn't belong there and begins to build an immune response and making antibodies, which are what protects us from getting infected when the real SARS-CoV-2 virus enters our body. One advantage of mRNA vaccines is that they are not made from the live virus that causes COVID-19. Therefore, there is no chance of getting the disease from the vaccine. Another big advantage is that they can be developed in the laboratory using readily available materials like traditional vaccines, unlike traditional vaccines, which are grown in cells or eggs. It is important to note, however, that the mRNA does not enter the cell nucleus, so it does not affect or interact with our DNA in any way. This is a common myth about mRNA vaccines. mRNA in COVID-19 vaccine does not interact with DNA. While there are no currently licensed vaccines using mRNA technology, this technology has been studied for decades in vaccine trials for influenza, Zika, rabies, and climatovirus. The Johnson & Johnson vaccine uses the more traditional virus-based technology. It uses disabled adenovirus that delivers instructions to your body on how to defeat the coronavirus. So a little about COVID-19 mRNA vaccines, Pfizer and Moderna. 2 shots are needed to provide the best protection against COVID-19 for both of the vaccines. The first shot primes the immune system, helping it recognize the virus, while the second shot strengthens the immune system response. Side effects are commonly seen in these mRNA vaccines, especially after the second dose. The side effects may include fever, headache, and muscle aches. About the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. 1 shot is needed to provide protection against COVID-19. Women younger than 50 years old should be aware of the rare risk of blood clots with low platelets after vaccination. Side effects may include pain, redness, swelling at the injection site, fever, headache, or muscle pain. At least 8 weeks of safety data were gathered in the trials. It's unusual for side effects to appear more than 8 weeks post-vaccination. The clinical trials did not reveal any significant safety concerns. However, a small number of severely allergic reactions have been reported during the initial rollout of the vaccine more broadly. If you get a COVID-19 vaccine, you'll be asked to stay for a period of time afterwards to monitor for any signs of a potential allergic reaction. If you've had no history of allergic reactions to the vaccine, you'll be asked to stay 15 minutes. If you have ever had an allergic reaction to a vaccine, you will be asked to stay for about 30 minutes for observation by a healthcare provider. If you think you might be having a severe allergic reaction after leaving the vaccination site, seek immediate medical care by calling 911. And more information can be found on the CDC's website. We realize that you may have concerns about the safety of the first COVID-19 vaccines because they use new technology. We were able to fast track these vaccines because researchers used existing clinical trial networks, like those that studied HIV treatments and vaccines, to quickly conduct COVID-19 vaccine trials. Another critical piece has been the investment in manufacturing. Even before COVID-19 vaccines had been proven effective, the US government and vaccine manufacturers have invested millions of dollars to scale up vaccine production while clinical trials have been in progress, greatly reducing the amount of time between vaccine authorization and vaccine implementation. Because of the great financial risk, the investment in manufacturing normally doesn't happen until later in the development process. As we mentioned earlier, mRNA vaccines are faster and cheaper to produce because they are readily made materials, and FDA and CDC are working quickly to prioritize, review, and approve of the COVID vaccines. Again, I want to emphasize that although the vaccine timeline was fast-tracked for emergency use authorization because of the pandemic, the COVID-19 vaccines are being held to the same safety standards as other routine vaccines. Several expert and independent groups are evaluating the safety of vaccines being given to people in the United States. Before any vaccines receive authorization or approval, FDA carefully reviews all of the safety data from clinical trials, and the Advisory Committee on Immunization Practices, or ACIP, which is an independent body of experts, reviews all safety data before recommending use. FDA and ACIP have qualified scientific and clinical experts with minimal conflicts of interest reviewing all of the data. After any vaccines are authorized and in use, both FDA and CDC continue to monitor the safety of the vaccines. Existing systems have methods that can rapidly detect possible vaccine safety problems. These systems are being scaled up for COVID-19 vaccine introduction to fully meet the needs of the nation. Additional systems and data sources also being developed for further enhancement of safety monitoring capabilities. Monitoring vaccine safety is a regular ongoing part of vaccine development, and these systems have been in place for decades to ensure the safety of routine vaccines. These systems are complementary and work together to monitor vaccine safety. Components include VALORS, which collects and analyzes reports of adverse events that happen after vaccination, the Vaccine Safety Data Link, and the Post-Licensure Rapid Immunization Safety Monitoring System, which are networks of healthcare organizations that actively analyze the healthcare information of millions of people, and the Clinical Immunization Safety Assessment, or CISA, which is a collaboration between CDC and 7 medical research centers. CISA assists healthcare providers with complex vaccine safety questions and conducts clinical research studies to better understand vaccine safety. FDA's Biologics Effectiveness and Safety System, or BEST, which is a system of electronic health record, administrative, and claims-based data for active surveillance and research. These existing data systems can rapidly detect signals for possible vaccine safety problems. Additional systems and data sources are also being developed for further enhanced safety monitoring capabilities. One example is vSafe, an active surveillance system that uses text messaging to initiate web-based survey monitoring. As you can see, robust systems on vaccine safety are in place for these COVID-19 vaccines, just as any other vaccine. And it's important to note that the safety monitoring for both VAERS and vSafe are required to monitor safety effects by race and ethnicity. What are the benefits of getting a COVID-19 vaccine? COVID-19 vaccination will help keep you from getting COVID-19. Getting a COVID-19 vaccine will help create an immune response in your body against the virus without your having to experience illness. Based on what we know about vaccines for other diseases, experts believe that getting a COVID-19 vaccine may help keep you from getting seriously ill even if you do get COVID-19. Getting vaccinated yourself may also protect people around you, your family, your coworkers, patients, particularly people at an increased risk for becoming severely ill from COVID-19. COVID-19 vaccination will also be a safer way to help build protection. Getting the virus that causes COVID-19 may offer some natural protection, known as immunity, but experts don't know how long this protection lasts, and the risk of severe illness and death from COVID-19 far outweighs any benefits of natural immunity. COVID-19 vaccination will help protect you by creating an antibody response. COVID-19 vaccination will be an important tool to help stop the pandemic, but it also continues to be one tool in the toolbox. While COVID-19 vaccines appear to be highly effective, additional preventative tools remain important to limit the spread of COVID-19. The combination of getting vaccinated and following CDC's recommendations to protect yourself and others will offer the best protection from COVID-19. Even after you're vaccinated, you will still need to cover your nose and mouth with a mask. Avoid contact, maintaining social distancing, clean and disinfect frequently touched surfaces, wash your hands. Stopping a pandemic requires the use of all tools we have available. It'll take time to vaccinate all Americans. While the vaccines are being delivered, it is important that everyone continue to take all steps to prevent the spread of COVID-19. As COVID-19 vaccine becomes more widely available, you may hear more information and misinformation from your friends, family, social media, and peers. Accurate information is key, so we want to review some key facts. COVID-19 vaccines will not give you COVID-19. As we mentioned, none of the COVID-19 vaccines currently in use or under development in the United States use the live virus that causes COVID-19. People can experience side effects such as fever after receiving the vaccine, especially after the second dose. This is because the first shot primes the immune system, helping it recognize the virus, and the second shot strengthens the immune response. These side effects are normal and are signs that the body is building immunity. The two vaccines currently authorized require 2 doses for the best protection. And then now we also have the Johnson & Johnson, which requires 1 dose. However, receiving 1 dose of the Pfizer or Moderna will not provide optimal protection. So you have to get that second dose to get the protection you need. It is also important to note that it typically takes a few weeks for the body to build immunity after vaccination. This means it's possible a person could be infected with the virus that causes COVID-19 just before or just after vaccination and get sick. It's because the vaccine has not had enough time to provide protection to your body. Another fact. COVID-19 vaccines will not cause you to test positive on COVID-19 viral tests. Vaccines currently authorized in clinical trials in the US won't cause you to test positive on viral tests, which are used to see if you have a current infection. If your body develops an immune response, which is the goal of vaccination, there is a possibility you may test positive on some antibody tests. Antibody tests indicate that you have had a previous infection and that you may have some level of protection against the virus. Due to severe health risks associated with COVID-19 and the fact that reinfection with COVID-19 is possible, vaccines should be offered to you regardless of whether you've already had COVID-19 infection. At this time, experts do not know how long someone is protected from getting sick again after recovering from COVID-19. The immunity someone gains from having an infection, called natural immunity, varies from person to person. Some early evidence suggests that natural immunity may not last very long. We won't know how long immunity produced by vaccination lasts until we have more data on how well the vaccines work. Both natural immunity and vaccine-induced immunity are important aspects of COVID-19 that experts are trying to learn more about. Now that we've covered what we know about COVID-19 vaccines, the benefits of vaccination, and clarified the facts, you may have questions about what to expect before, during, and after your vaccination. Before vaccination, you should learn more about the different types of COVID-19 vaccines and how they work. We've provided you with some of this information today, and you should see if COVID-19 vaccination is recommended for you right now. During your vaccination appointment, you should receive a paper or electronic version of a fact sheet specific to the COVID-19 vaccine you are being offered that contains information to help you understand the risks and benefits of receiving that specific vaccine. Be sure to tell your vaccine provider about your medical conditions, including if you have allergies, a fever, are immunocompromised, or have received another COVID-19 vaccine. After you are vaccinated, you should be given a vaccination record card that tells you what COVID-19 vaccine you received, the date you received it, and where you received it. All people who get a COVID-19 vaccine should be monitored on site to look for any signs of a potential allergic reaction. As we mentioned previously, with most COVID-19 vaccines, you will need 2 shots in order for them to work. Be aware that side effects are expected, especially after the second dose. They include fever, headache, and muscle pain, or body aches. You should get the second shot even if you've had side effects after the first one, unless a vaccine provider or your doctor tells you not to get a second shot. Side effects are a sign the vaccine is working to protect you. Your provider may also give you information about how to enroll in VSafe. As we mentioned earlier, VSafe is a free smartphone-based tool that uses text messaging and web surveys to provide personalized health check-ins after you received a COVID-19 vaccine. The program will help CDC monitor safety of COVID-19 vaccines. And finally, it is important to remember that we don't currently know how much protection COVID-19 will provide under real-world conditions. You should continue to use all the tools available to help stop this pandemic. Cover your mouth and nose with a mask. When you're around others, stay at least 6 feet away from others, avoid crowds, and wash your hands often. How can I get vaccinated? Southside has developed a COVID-19 vaccine resource list that is available on a Google Sheet and has been distributed to supervisors. This sheet has links in it and information on how to be vaccinated in your local area and is updated regularly. If you have any questions, you can always reach out to me, the Director of Quality and Compliance, and I will assist you with finding a vaccine. COVID-19 vaccination can protect you from serious illness and potentially can reduce the risk to your family, your friends, your coworkers, patients, and your community. Choose to get vaccinated when it is available to you. Participate in VSafe and help CDC monitor for any health effects after vaccination. Share your experience with your coworkers, friends, and family, and visibly show that you've received the vaccine, such as wearing a sticker or a button. You have a role in increasing confidence in COVID-19 vaccination, and sharing your experience may influence those you care about. CDC has a wealth of information as well as links to additional resources on their website. You can find more information at the URL listed on this slide. Stopping this pandemic is going to take all of our tools. Building vaccine confidence is a critical strategy to increase uptake, and it requires a team effort. Thank you for helping make this happen. This information was taken from the CDC Vaccine Task Force. And that is the end of our training for today. And again, if you have any questions, please reach out to me, the Director of Quality and Compliance, and I will do my best to find those answers for you. Thank you. Have a nice day.